Our last report this week takes us to one of the remotest parts of the Soviet Union, the Central Asian republics. We join in tourists' tour number 17 to Samarkand and Tashkent. It also takes in Leningrad, which we don't see, and Moscow, which we do.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? Allow me to introduce myself. I'll be your guide. My name is Lyudmila. Welcome to Moscow, the capital of the USSR. Today we are going on the city tour, and during the city tour I'll show you Red Square, which is called the heart of Moscow, the heart of Russia. I'll show you the famous St. Basil's Cathedral, the famous History Museum, and the Kremlin.
Under the firm control of the in-tourist guide, Tour 17 starts its whirlwind week around the Soviet Union with a barrage of sights and statistics. You hardly have a minute to catch your breath. Only a day and a half is spent in Moscow, just enough time to savor the monumental flavor of the place. Curiosity brings people to Moscow. A sense of adventure sends them flying 1,700 miles south for 2 nights in Samarkand.
This mausoleum was not destroyed by the earthquake, and it's considered to be one of the most beautiful mausoleums in Central Asia.
The Soviet Union's Central Asian Republic is a totally different world. Samarkand's Muslim heritage is magnificent. For centuries, a staging point on the Silk Route between China and the Mediterranean, the very name conjures up powerful images. Alexander the Great and Genghis Khan came this way. The conqueror, Tamburlaine, made it the capital of his empire, which stretched from the borders of China to India and Egypt. Tamburlaine's favorite wife, Bibi, built a great mosque in his honor. Jealous of the architect who fell in love with her, Tamburlaine ordered all women to cover their faces. Centuries later, emancipated after the 1917 Bolshevik Revolution, they burned their veils in the same unchanged setting, or so the guides tell you. And Tamburlaine, he lies buried in the richly ornamental Gur Emir Mosque. As there's one God in heaven, there must be one king on earth, he said, at the height of his power. After Tamburlaine, Lenin. Samarkand is very much part of the Soviet Union. The modern city, with its stark, functional architecture, has little appeal. In colourful contrast, the old town is instant Asia, though without the pestering touts and so many flies. It's a sanitized, more orderly version of most Muslim countries. Despite extensive modernization, the old ways linger on. People are more spontaneous than in Moscow, the pace of life slower and more relaxed. After all, who wants to rush about when the midsummer temperature can top 120 degrees Fahrenheit? The Silk Route has changed a bit down the years, but the silk itself is still there, a luxurious splash of color in a pre-consumer society where shops are generally uninviting. And there's always time for tea, the Chaikana, an ancient ritual that has survived revolution and 5-year plans.
So you are my guest, and if I want to stay in my house, I pour small portions of green tea to these cups, you see, like now. So please taste it. This is the beautiful green tea.
Despite their modern appearance, Central Asian hotels are basic. Don't expect the little luxuries of life. Bedrooms at the Hotel Samarkand, one of the best in town, are shabby and sparsely furnished. You get all meals on this tour. Food is acceptable and substantial, and at times almost too speedily served. That's if you can find a table in the first place. Culture gets a star rating in the Soviet Union. Every folk dance tells a story that's more likely to be about achievement and progress than unrequited love and despair. But what brought these Britons to the Soviet Union?
I chose Russia this year because I wanted to see how the different parts of Russia, what different characters there were in a country which was so large. And I found that Samarkand is very, very different from Moscow.
We really wanted to see what Russia was like in comparison with other Eastern countries.
We'd both learnt Russian at school, so it was an incentive because we knew we could speak the language when we got here.
Well, my impressions of Russia are a little bit different to what I expected, but I think to a large extent, because you are shown where they want to show you, you don't really get an impression of the real Russia.
The food's been unusual. I feel they've catered for the tourist taste a bit.
Yeah, I think they probably watered it down for tourists slightly.
The food has been better than I was led to believe before I came.
I know other people don't like the variation that we've got, but I've enjoyed the food very much so.
Accommodation is very good, considering what is included in the whole cost of the holiday.
Down here in Samarkand, it was quite surprising, the room. Very sort of basic and not much finesse about the room or anything. And the bathroom was an experience.
Oh, the organisation's fantastic.
Yes, there's been 1 or 2 hiccups, but then that's going to be expected of any package tour, I feel.
We spent a few hours waiting around to be the place where we're supposed to be.
And since it's such a short tour, I think you can't really afford to waste much time.
I think it's been excellent value for money.
We looked at how much it would have been to fly as individuals with British Airways, and this is by far the cheapest way to do it.
Samarkand doesn't just seem part of Russia, it seems completely different.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very glad to welcome you in Tashkent. After visiting Samarkand, the ancient capital of Central Asia, you are back in 20th century. Tashkent looks very modern one, because it was rebuilt within the last 20 years after the terrible earthquake of 1966.
Exotic Asia, Tashkent is certainly not, though only a 45-minute flight from Samarkand. City tours are included in the package. Here you're told of palaces of culture, workers rehoused in vast blocks, the importance of parks and gardens. Almost everything's new. The old order has been swept away. For Tour 17, it's another angle on Soviet life. Though accommodation used is first class, standards vary. Bathrooms can turn out to be fairly basic. Tashkent is a communist showcase where even wall paintings make a political point. Perestroika and glasnost are today's buzzwords, but the message from above clearly remains heroic and inspirational.
Those 7-night tours are running this year. The first goes in May. The price, £496 or £486 in October, includes all flights, meals and some sightseeing.